Hello, I'm Frederic Bien, your instructor for Data Analytics in Business, Management 6203. And we're continuing the module on marketing and advertising. Today is lesson 2.1 in this module, where we'll talk about the first of the 5 methods of digital advertising. So we've so far talked about the traditional methods of advertising and marketing. We've talked about the evolution of various advertising companies, especially where we are here in Georgia Tech, but similar evolution can be found in most major cities in the world. We talked about some of the systems of digital advertising, and we've also done an overview of the market of digital advertising. And today I want to introduce 3 of the main 5 methods of digital advertising. First, let's look at the overall size of the market of digital advertising. So it has grown a lot in the last even just 4 years. From 36%, it has been projected to reach 49%, just almost half of the overall US total media ad spending. While television, which used to be the dominant share of advertising market, is shrinking from above a third to below a third. And print, of course, is continuing to dwindle. Radio is sort of maintaining itself thanks to the daily commute by car. And then out of home is somewhat steady at 3%. And directories, of course, are declining pretty fast. When was the last time you opened some yellow page directory to look at anything? So today the learning objectives are to look at display advertising. After that we'll look at search engine marketing and then social media marketing. And I will leave mobile advertising and direct messaging / email marketing for another course that some of you might take, but that we won't need so urgently for the work we'll do in this course on data analytics. So what is it that we can learn about display advertising for data analytics? A lot of these slides come from the course Management 6311 called Digital Marketing, which I encourage you to take, that is currently taught by Michael Buchanan, and to whom I'm grateful for sharing some of the slides here as a colleague at Georgia Tech in the Schiller College of Business. So here are some examples of display advertising. You've seen the banner ads at the top, the square ads on the right side of the page, and you're pretty familiar with many of these as you surf the web every day. And we will see later on that, on average, many of us see several thousand ads per day. So display advertising has been around for a long time. The first display ads reportedly were sold 25 years ago, 1994. Supposedly AT&T bought it. Display advertising today comes in many sizes. It's quite good for branding, and that means that you can increase the awareness of the name of a company. There's a different type of advertising, which is direct response, which we will see in the next segment. But display is really used for establishing the name of a brand, the image, the colors, the logos, the recognition that are mostly visual for a brand. Display advertising can also be contextual, which means that you can fit the themes of the ads with the theme of the page. And that is very useful so that you can target your audience based on the things that they like. So for instance, if you have a page about gardening, then you can put ads about different plants or soil that you're trying to sell. If you have a page about food, naturally you will find ads about restaurants or about food that you might buy in stores. And for travel, the same thing. If you have a travel page, then you would look for travel ads or airline ads or cruise ads. So the contextuality is very good, but of course it's not as precise as we will see later on with search ads. but it is important. Display advertising suffers from having low click-through rates because many of us have become quite good at blanking out the ads and focusing on the content we're trying to read. We also have products that allow us to even not look at the ads and not see the ads being served by the servers. And finally, display advertising works better when we can retarget the ads, which means that you look for the content that people were looking at before landing on the page that they are on, and you serve them an ad that is similar to what they were looking at before. So this retargeting that uses sort of the recall function of the brain, you were looking at a shoe ad, now you're on a news website and you see a shoe ad again, then of course you're more likely to recognize it and to act on it. So this works quite well for display advertising, and that's one of the ways to improve the click-through rates of display advertising. So here are some examples of size of advertising in display formats. The leaderboard is if everything is in pixels, so 728 by 90 pixels. The skyscrapers, 120 by 600 and 160 by 600. The large rectangles, for instance, 336 by 260 or 200 by 200. So every site will have different size of ads, and this way they can fit the layout of their online magazine, if you like, with the type of ads that they want to display. Now, each ad has a different viewability rate, which means that people have studied to which extent do we notice the ads. And as you can see here, people notice them relatively well. The bigger, the better, usually. If they are vertical, they are seen a little bit better than if they are horizontal. Of course, there's also the question of where do they appear on the page? Are they at the top or at the bottom of the page? So there's a notion of fold, just like there is with newspapers, where if you're above the fold, where the page appears without having to scroll, you're going to have a much higher click-through rate than if you're below the fold, where people have to click, to scroll first before they can click on your ad. So what are the data points that we can track with display advertising? There's impressions, which is the fact of an ad having been served. Okay, now it may have been served below the fold, but we'll leave those details for discussions later, I would say. And overall, an impression is just the fact that the web server pulled the file from the cache and was put into the browser of the viewer. Whether the viewer was one person, whether the ad was below the fold, or the viewer had several people in the room at the same time is not recorded in the term impressions. Clicks is the number of people taking action by clicking on the ad. The time of day is naturally when people saw the ad. The device or the operating system that they were on can also easily be recorded. And the region, potentially very precisely these days, thanks to the geo-targeting capabilities, you can really geo-target display advertising down to zip codes or even sometimes smaller neighborhoods than that. In general, however, through deals, you buy a whole city at a time, a whole DMA, direct marketing organization at a time, area. Ad networks. So these ads are served by ad networks, typically, that feed the pages. We've seen a bit of this in some of our previous slides in the first lesson on digital advertising. But overall, the advertisers pool their ads together through an ad network that then distributes the ads to various content sites that are affiliated with this ad network. One content site could be affiliated with several ad networks and sort of pick the one that pays them the better that day or that week or that month, or for that type of advertising. So you may have a website that subscribes to specific ad networks for food or for travel, while they may have a generic ad network for other content types. So this is kind of an overview a bit of what display advertising does and how it works. And with that, we also have the notion of programmatic advertising. So with an ecosystem like we saw previously, you can imagine that there's a lot of opportunities for machine learning and for trying to optimize the system based on the click-through rates, the responses of the audience, or simply the satisfaction of the advertiser who is looking at the profitability of their ad buy. So you can see here how US programmatic digital ad spending has grown over time, has also increased, its share, and overall, it has taken over to a large extent digital ad spending. Please note that this doesn't mean that these ads are completely automated. There's still a lot of human influence, and CMOs, make decisions behind this about which programmatic network to use. But with the volume of web surfing happening and number of advertisers participating, programmatic ad serving has really helped to make the market much more efficient than it could have been without machine intervention. So overall, what we've seen today is the first method of digital advertising called display advertising. And what we're going to see next is search engine marketing, which sort of works better with direct response advertisers. Overall, display advertising works great for branding. And although it has lower click-through rates, it can be improved. Number one, by retargeting the ads and using a retargeting network. And number two, by using optimization system as is found in programmatic advertising. On to the next lesson.